everyone, it's Sharonda from Payorwait, and today I'm going to be reviewing Tetris, which is currently streaming on the Apple TV Plus platform. This film is directed by John S. Baird and is written by Noah Pink, as it stars Terry Edgerton as Tetris, centers around the story of how one of the world's most popular video games made its way to players all across the globe. Businessman Hank Rogers and the Tetris inventor Alexei Patanov join forces in the USSR, risking it all to bring Tetris to the masses. So for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome, hello, so glad you came, I hope you stay. I'll tell you what I liked about the movie, what I didn't like about the movie, and is it worth your time or not watching Tetris, where it's currently streaming on Apple TV+. So, going into what I actually enjoyed about Tetris, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I was like, they're making a movie about Tetris? Like, the game that I lost so many hours of my life playing? I was like, is the story that interesting that they made a movie out of it? But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna hold my reservations and I'm gonna go ahead and watch it. And what I will have to say is, while the film does take a while to actually get me invested in the story, as the story kind of unfolds of how Tetris came to be, by the time I ended the movie, I was like, damn, like y'all went through all of that just to get Tetris to the masses? Like, this was a lot. And I have to say, I did have fun watching it. I felt like I learned a lot. It was interesting. And the movie took me places that I had no idea on where it was actually going to go. And I think that does have to do with the writing of Noah Pink. I think that Noah does a very great job of taking the story that I think to the average viewer probably wouldn't know all of the background, the craziness of how Tetris came to be across the globe, and it makes it for an interesting story, but it also does a very great job of kind of weaving in this inspirational beat. Like, there's some dark moments in the movie, but it's still inspiring as well. You know, it kind of gives you that fire, like, man, let me go write a business plan or start a business. Let me follow my dreams a little bit. And I think that a lot of that has to do with this lead, Taron Egerton, who portrays Hank Rogers. I think that he always does a very fantastic job of captivating the audience. There's just something that Taron Egerton has when you watch him in movies, when you watch him in shows. Most recently, I watched him in Blackbird on Apple TV+. I just think that he always understands the assignment, and you feel like he truly gives his all to this character. And so when you're watching Hank, you're rooting for this person to win. You want them to succeed. But as you see Hank kind of lend himself and his family in danger, you're kind of on the edge of your seat like, oh my goodness, Hank, like, I want you to succeed, but I want you to have your life as well. And I think that the film does a really great job of balancing the suspense while also giving you kind of this documentary story, which I can't really say documentary because I know probably half of this stuff did not happen, but it does a really great job of keeping the audience invested, you know, until the end. And also, too, I think from a writing standpoint of what Noah does so well is really showcases the human element of what is happening in the USSR as we get to learn a little bit more about the Tetris inventor, Alexei Patanov, who is actually portrayed by Nikita Efremov, who I thought did a really fantastic job of really pulling at the heartstrings. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, okay? By the end of the movie, I was crying. I shed a couple of thug tears, but I was just so excited because I just wanted them to do right by somebody. I'm not gonna tell y'all who it was. But I was invested. I shed some tears at the end. I don't think that was the intention, but that's how into it I was. And I like how they kind of showcase this is what is happening. Like, yes, this is a story about Hank Rogers and how he's trying to get this business deal closed that will make him millions of dollars. But it's really the story of what is happening to the people of the USSR. You know, how they've been kind of, you know, how really the thought of creativity or even the idea of economic prosperity, you know, how all these things, these rights that we have a right to be able to express our creativity. We have a right to be able to make a way out of no way, have a story from rags to riches, you know, that entrepreneurship that everyone wants to create this idea and make millions. You know, a lot of our characters that we see in this film, especially with Alexei, they don't have those same rights as everyone else in the States. And so I like how, even though as we're seeing Hank, they have this not necessarily a fish out of water kind of story, that Hank is really starting to understand why things are so troubled, why things are so hard in order to get Tetris to the world. And I like how they showcase what is actually happening in the USSR to its people. And I think that adds the human element to Tetris as well. Now, outside of that, I had a really great time watching it. I think that it's fun once it actually gets going. There's some cool like nods to the Tetris game, and also too for gamers, there's some cool things that they do with transition scenes. You know, they really have the gamer in mind as they're trying to have the structure of how the story flows. But I got two issues once I got towards the end of the film, okay? All right. First and foremost, one of the cons that I did have, like I said, in the beginning of the movie, it is a lot happening. It was so much happening that I paused and I was like, damn, let me go get a notepad and start writing all these characters' names down, because I was just like, it's been a couple of minutes and y'all done threw 10 people at me and I'm just kind of confused on how we got here. So I will say, it took a while for me to get invested because I feel like so much was being thrown at me. I didn't know who I needed to pay attention to, who was important to watch, what I needed to be looking out for. And honestly, it's not until you get into the second act of the movie, they call it level 2, that the movie actually gets to the core of its story, where it starts getting interesting. There's some things that happen in the third act that I'm just like, they were kind of like, okay, I know this is a story about Tetris, but we're going to throw some Hollywood on it. To each his own. I mean, I was still watching. I was still into it. Shed a couple thug tears at the end. But I do feel like they could have did away with a couple of things. But I don't think it takes away from the movie too much because I still enjoyed it overall. But let me talk about the most egregious issue I have with this movie that nobody is talking about. Okay, that I know so far. Somebody could have said something, but I feel like this should be bigger than what it is, okay? When you get to the end of the movie, you know, they always do like the little nod, like, here are the real people that we were talking about in this movie. And when they get to Hank Rogers, I had to pause. I said, I know you effing lying right now. Do y'all know that Hank Rogers is a Dutch Indonesian man, okay? Emphasis on the Indonesian. Honestly, I would not... I know y'all probably gonna be like, Sharona, why are you making a big deal out of this? But honestly, when you start watching the movie and you kind of see who Hank's family is, where Hank is living, I was like, oh, well, I would have liked to know how he ended up here. But then when I see the end of the movie and I see what the real Hank looks like, I said, well, hell, that makes all the sense in the world. And now I'm sitting here trying to figure out, why did y'all whitewash this man? Why was he okay with being whitewashed like this? Because to be honest with you, it adds a whole new meaning up to the film and to his character. The fact that this Dutch Indonesian man went to the USSR and did all these things to bring Tetris to the masses. It literally changes the story for me. Like, I don't understand how this was okay. Why people were just like, yeah, we're going to whitewash him. We're going to make him white. It disrupts my spirit. It made me feel very icky at the end. Like, I'm not going to lie to y'all. It did. I don't know if... I would just like to know what the conversations were, how everyone involved was okay with whitewashing an actual figure who like made this huge accomplishment, risked his life, his family's life. Like, it didn't sit well in my spirit, okay? But before learning this information as the movie, I would tell y'all to give it a watch, okay? I had a good time. I learned a good story. Probably gonna try to see if they have any Tetris documentaries after this to kind of figure out what was real, what was Hollywood. But I did enjoy Tetris. I think that it's a fun movie to watch on streaming. And I would be really interested to hear people's thoughts about it. And even more interested to hear your thoughts about once you realize what Hank Rogers actually looks like. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Tetris. As always, my name is Sharona from payorwait. And if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit that notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. And until I see you again, bye.